Modern satellites have given us a completely new perspective on Earth. From high above, patterns emerge that are invisible from the ground and often defy easy explanation. Some are natural, others are human-made, and many still raise unanswered questions. Satellite imagery has allowed us to look down on our planet in ways that have never been possible before. But sometimes, people can discover strange shapes and formations on the surface of the Earth that cannot be explained. For today's video, we're going to take a look at 15 of the most mysterious patterns seen from space. Number 15. The Sayama Lines, Bolivia. Found across the landscape of the Bolivian Altiplano, the Sayama Lines are some of the mysterious geoglyphs. Stretching across an area of almost 8,700 square miles, or just over 22,000 square kilometers, near the Sayama volcano, these ancient lines, which can be as wide as roads but only a few inches deep, crisscross the ground in a surprisingly complex network. Unlike other geoglyphs, which often represent animals or specific patterns, the Sayama lines are a huge web of perfectly straight paths that stretch out in all directions. Some individual lines stretch uninterrupted for more than 12 miles or 20 kilometers, and their precision is incredible. They don't deviate, curve, or bend even when crossing hills, valleys, or ravines. As for their origins or purpose, we simply don't know. There are theories that they were created by pre-Columbian indigenous societies for ceremonial or religious purposes, where the lines may have been sacred pathways to guide people between ritual sites or ancient shrines. Others, though, have suggested that the lines were used for processions, possibly in astronomical alignments or in rituals, which are known as epos in the Andean cosmology. There is, though, no evidence other than the lines themselves, so everything, for now, is simple guesswork. The reason why they've lasted so long has a lot to do with the region's dry climate and the lack of any strong winds, which has prevented them from being eroded or covered with another layer of soil. For a long time, because they were so tricky to see from a low altitude, people had no idea they were even there. It was only when they were discovered in satellite imagery that their full extent became clear. Number 14. The Iaranga Crater, Chad. Located within the Sahara Desert in northern Chad is the mysterious Iaranga Crater, which is a massive impact structure in the sand that's very different from others that have been studied. Believed to have been formed as far back as 345 million years ago, during the Denovian or Carboniferous period, it's actually one of the best preserved impact craters in the world. While it's mainly now hidden by the shifting desert sands, recent satellite imagery has brought attention back to it because, rather than being a single crater, it's now believed to be part of a crater chain, which is an extremely rare phenomenon. The primary crater, Iaranga South, is thought to be around 7.8 miles in diameter with a distinct circular structure. The central uplift of the crater is a telltale feature of an impact structure which was formed by the rebound of the Earth's crust as it pushed rock layers upwards in the moment after the impact. Surrounding the uplifted center, there's concentric rings that mark the boundary of the original crater, though they've been partially buried over the millions of years since the incident. The strange patterning in the satellite imagery, though, now shows that it may be one of three aligned impact craters which were possibly formed by a fragmented asteroid or comet striking the Earth in quick succession. The potential secondary craters, which are still to be fully confirmed, could mean that it's part of one of the few known multi-ring impact events on Earth, similar to chains of impact craters that have been seen elsewhere, like the Moon and Mars. If true, the energy released by this impact would have been unimaginable, possibly triggering wildfires, climate disruptions, and affecting the entire planet. As it's in such a remote place in modern times, it's perfect for studying to learn more about events like this, but researchers wouldn't have even known it was worth a closer look had it not been for the patterns on satellite imagery. Number 13. Pentagram, the Upper Tobol Reservoir in Kazakhstan. In the steppes of northern Kazakhstan, near the Upper Tobol Reservoir, satellite images have revealed a strange symbol that's been carved into the ground, a massive pentagram that's around 1,200 feet in diameter. The five-pointed star can only be seen from above by satellite imagery and has, of course, been quite the mystery since it was first spotted on Google Earth, especially as symbols like these have such an association with the ideas of the occult, secret societies, and religious iconography. Very few people live in this region, where the surrounding landscape is mainly covered in grasslands, so the first suggestions were that the pattern was the remains of an ancient or mystical site used for rituals, or perhaps from the Soviet era, secret projects, or extraterrestrial connections. During the Soviet Union's expansion into Kazakhstan, a number of recreational facilities and youth camps were built in isolated areas and would usually feature large geometric designs in their layouts. The pentagram in this case seems to have been the result of this trend, with the outline of the shape being made of dirt roads or tree-lined pathways, which would have once been part of the park. The reason for using the star's shape is most likely Soviet symbolism, as the five-pointed star was an emblem of communism. Today, because it's in such a remote place, people living nearby don't really know about the shape on the ground, and it's far more famous online. It's not a major tourist attraction and doesn't have any actual use, even as a park. Still, though, it's an interesting reminder of recent history and how attempts were made to bring communities in line with wider political ambitions. Number 12. The Band of Holes, Peru. Scattered across a hillside in the Pisco Valley of Peru, the Band of Holes is one of the strangest features in South America. It stretches for nearly a mile or about 1.5 kilometers, and it's made up of thousands of small, evenly spaced holes carved into the ground. The site, which is also known as Monte Serpa, which means Serpent Mountain, is only visible in its entirety from above, and it was virtually unknown to the wider world until the peculiar patterns were seen on satellite imagery. In all, there's about 7,000 depressions, all arranged in neat rows that snake up the foothills. Each hole varies in size, with diameters ranging from 12 to 39 inches, that's about 30 to 100 centimeters, and are up to 3 feet or 1 meter deep. Some of these holes are circular, while others are more rectangular, and they're organized in a long, winding band that gives the site an almost artificial appearance. The precision and uniformity of the holes suggest that they were made on purpose, but it's not entirely clear what they were for. Some researchers believe that the holes were used for storage, possibly as small silos for agricultural produce like potatoes or maize, which were the main crops of the region. However, no organic material or artifacts have been found inside the holes to support the idea. Another possibility is that the Band of Holes was a ritual or religious site, potentially as a way to make offerings to the gods or astronomical alignments. The ancient peoples of Peru often incorporated sacred geography into their landscape, and the site's resemblance to certain Andean ceremonial patterns means there could well have been a spiritual reason. Without any conclusive evidence, though, we may never know for sure what they were for, but at least they'll remain a strange pattern on the landscape of the region. Number 11. The Maree Man, South Australia. Deep in the South Australian outback, there's one of the largest geoglyphs in the world, known as the Maree Man. Carved into the earth and measuring 2.5 miles or 4.2 kilometers long, it was first discovered in 1998 by a pilot flying over the region, near the town of Maree. Clearly visible in satellite imagery, this figure shows a man holding what appears to be a boomerang or a woomera, which is a type of spear-throwing device, so it's obviously a reference to an Aboriginal Australian culture. It's not clear, though, who created this pattern or even when. This geoglyph is on a plateau near Finnish Springs, which is an isolated stretch of land that's far from any major settlements. And unlike other geoglyphs, which tend to be thousands of years old, the Maree Man is actually thought to be relatively modern, likely made in the late 20th century. Its discovery was accompanied by a strange and deliberate trail of clues, and soon after it was spotted from the air, anonymous faxes were sent to media outlets and officials, hinting at the work's origin but never really revealing its creator. The messages were written in Americanized English, which had led to the belief that a foreign artist was responsible. At such a large scale, though, the method of building the structure is unknown. The lines forming the Maree Man were originally 12 inches or about 30 centimeters deep and up to 115 feet or 35 meters wide, suggesting the use of heavy machinery like a bulldozer. Satellite images and aerial surveys imply that precise navigational tools, possibly GPS technology, was used to ensure the accuracy of the design. But this would be unusual for the late 1990s when such technology wasn't widely available. Over time, wind and erosion began to erase the Maree Man, but efforts have been made to preserve it. In 2016, a team of local volunteers carefully restored the geoglyph using GPS coordinates to trace its original outline, and today the Maree Man remains a special landmark that's still controversial because of the uncertainty about its origins. Number 10. Diamonds and Circles, New Mexico. In the desert of New Mexico near Mesa Jufrenita, there's a strange formation of patterns that can be seen in satellite imagery. A mass of geometric symbols, which are two interlocking diamonds within a pair of concentric circles, are carved into the landscape. Located in a place with few residents, this structure has long been a subject of debate, with theories ranging from alien landing sites to secret military installations. But the truth may well be even more surprising. In fact, the Diamonds and Circles formation is not anything ancient or linked to extraterrestrial activity and is, instead, connected to an organization known as the Church of Spiritual Technology, which is a branch of Scientology. The site is believed to be one of several locations that are dedicated to preserving the writings and teachings of L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, and these symbols are thought to be aerial markers which are there to guide future followers back to a hidden vault where Hubbard's works are stored for safety in the event of a global catastrophe. The vault here is said to contain engraved metal plates and gold discs inscribed with Hubbard's works, which are designed to last thousands of years. This underground storage facility is part of a larger initiative by the CST to safeguard Scientology's works and make sure it survives beyond modern times. The method that was used to create the patterns really isn't known for sure, but satellite imagery and aerial surveys suggest they were made using bulldozers. With the precision of the design, it's likely that GPS technology or aerial reconnaissance was used to map out the symbols with accuracy. Even though we know what the symbols are, there's still a huge amount of secrecy surrounding the site. It's heavily guarded, with access strictly controlled, and insiders have revealed that the vault itself is built to withstand both natural and human-made disasters. Some have even said that it contains underground living quarters stocked with supplies to support a small group of individuals in an emergency. And it is quite possible that there are already thousands of people living in a subterranean society there already. Number 9. Wheel geoglyphs in the Middle East. Scattered across the deserts of the Middle East, there are thousands of massive wheel-shaped patterns, with some dating back over 8,500 years. Known as the Works of the Old Men, which was the name given to them by the British pilot Mercy Maitland in the 1920s, these circular structures were mostly unknown to the world until the introduction of aerial photography and satellite imaging. In Jordan alone, more than 12,000 of these geoglyphs have been identified, scattered across the lava fields of the region. Similar structures have been found in Syria, Saudi Arabia, and even as far south as Yemen, though their exact numbers and variations remain a subject of study. The largest of the structures measures up to 230 feet or about 70 meters in diameter, making them visible only from above, while the smallest are just a fraction of this. Despite the large number of them, though, and the huge area they cover, they remain surprisingly well hidden. The purpose of them, too, remains a mystery. They don't fit together to form any specific type of artistic shapes and instead look like simple astronomical calendars or ceremonial sites. Some researchers think that the radial spokes could have been to track the movement of the sun, similar to ancient sundials or calendrical systems. Other explanations are that wheels were used for the animal traps or enclosures, similar to the famous desert kites, which are V-shaped structures that can also be found in the Middle East. The circular shape and lack of enclosing walls makes this an unlikely main function, however. What we do know is that the wheels were built by early Neolithic or Bronze Age societies, who put a huge amount of effort into arranging stones and rocks into precise formations. The level of commitment that would have been needed to build these things suggests that they were significant to the people who made them, so would have had a deep cultural or religious meaning. But there's still a lot to be done here. It's possible that one day, the secrets of these patterns will be revealed and uncover far more about the society that created them. Number 8. Overlapping volcanoes in the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. The Kamchatka Peninsula is one of the most volcanically active regions on Earth, and is where, on satellite imagery, you're able to see a particularly rare and unique home to a geological phenomenon, overlapping volcanoes. This stretch of land in Russia's Far East has more than 300 volcanoes, 29 of which are still active, and they've formed in clusters, chains, and overlapping formations, creating a landscape like no other on the planet. Unlike isolated volcanic cones seen in other regions, though, Kamchatka volcanoes are closely packed, interwoven, and sometimes fused, forming massive caldera complexes, twin peak stratovolcanoes, and even chains of overlapping craters. One of the best examples is the Klyachevskaya Sopka, which is the tallest active volcano in Eurasia at 15,500 feet or about 4,700 meters. This giant cone is part of the Klyachevskaya group, where multiple volcanoes, including Kayman, Bazimiany, and Ushkovsky, are positioned so closely together that their lava flows and pyroclastic deposits merge. In some cases, new eruptions have created parasitic cones on the flanks of older volcanoes, further adding to the complex layering of these structures. Elsewhere, there's also the Talbotchik volcano, which is a complex made up of two overlapping stratovolcanoes, the Karimsky and the Malasimayakik volcanoes, which have blended together, Avachinsky and Koryaksky, which are twin volcanoes that stand side by side, and Mutnovsky and Gorly, which are a pair of interconnected volcanoes that feature fissure vents overlapping calderas and geothermal fields. As well as looking incredible, the presence of these multiple active volcanoes close together means that eruptions can trigger chain reactions, leading to secondary explosions, lava flows merging into wider destructive paths, and lahars, or volcanic mudflows that travel fast distances. You can certainly see the structures much better from satellite imagery, and with this increased risk of volcanic activity, it's way safer to do it like that. Because of how unique the region is, Kamchatka is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's one of the most studied volcanic regions in the world. The overlapping systems provide scientists with a natural laboratory to study magma dynamics, caldera formations, and the interactions between closely located volcanoes. Number 7. The Acre Geoglyphs in Brazil. The Amazon rainforest is known for having an incredibly thick jungle canopy. In recent times, this has unfortunately been thinned out by deforestation that's taking place, and while this is undoubtedly terrible for the local ecosystem and preservation of the region for the future, there has been one surprising consequence. For centuries, there have been structures that have been hidden within the jungle, and now, some of it is being removed. They're being revealed, with one of the most surprising being known as the Acre Geoglyphs. Scattered near Brazil's western border with Peru and Bolivia, there are over 500 geoglyphs that have now challenged the long-held assumptions about pre-Columbian civilizations in the Amazon. It wasn't until the 1970s, when satellite imagery and aerial photography became more widely used, that researchers began to notice these strange shapes appearing in deforested areas. The geoglyphs are made from dug trenches that are up to 36 feet or about 11 meters wide and 13 feet or about 4 meters deep, and they're arranged in symmetrical patterns that are often connected by long, straight pathways. The number of them and their complexity suggest that the ancient people who created them had a great understanding of geometry, landscape engineering, and organization. Radiocarbon dating of the remains and pottery shards that have been found near the area of the geoglyphs means that it's thought they were built between 1000 BCE and 1000 CE, which was much earlier than the rise of major civilizations like the Inca. Archaeologists think that the structures could have been used for purposes like ceremonial or ritual sites, defensive structures, societal and political centers, and perhaps ways to help track the motion of the sun and stars. Their discovery has also forced a bit of a rethink about the presumed history of the rainforest itself, as structures like these would suggest that the Amazon hasn't always been as large as it is today. Unfortunately, though, the continued deforestation of the Amazon in modern times also poses a threat to these structures. As trees are cleared for cattle ranching and agriculture, the geoglyphs are at risk of erosion, looting, and destruction. So, efforts are now underway in an attempt to protect sites like these for their cultural and historical significance, and hopefully be able to study them further to reveal more secrets about this mystical place. Number 6. The Spiral Formation in the Red Sea, Egypt. Hidden in the Egyptian desert near the shores of the Red Sea, there's a huge spiral-shaped pattern that looks truly out of place when you see it on satellite images. Known as the desert breath, there's not actually anything natural about it though, as this is a massive land art installation that's made up of an arrangement of spiraling cones and depressions, which form a huge geometric pattern. It can, from some angles, look like an ancient geoglyph too, but this is a modern artwork that's been there for less than 30 years. It was built in 1997 by a Greek art collective known as the DAST team, led by artists Danae Stratou, Alexandra Stratou, and Stella Constantines. The team designed the spiral to reflect the vastness of the desert and the infinite nature of space and time. The site chosen for the installation was near the Red Sea coast, in an uninhabited stretch of desert where the golden sands provided a perfect canvas for the artists. The spiral formation covers an area of about 1 million square feet, or 100,000 square meters. It's made up of 178 sand cones and depressions arranged in 2 spirals. At the center of the spiral, there was originally a small artificial lake, but that's since dried up. From the ground, the formation looks like rows of mysterious mounds and pits, but when seen from above, the design becomes fully visible as a swirl that expands outwards in perfect geometric symmetry. Unlike many land art projects, which are meant to be there for a long time, Desert Breath was designed to slowly disappear. Despite almost 3 decades of exposure, the spiral formation, though, remains largely visible, although less defined than it was at first. And within another 20 years, maybe, it'll probably be all gone for good, with no trace remaining apart from the images that are online. Number 5. Clearwater Lakes, Quebec, Canada. Found in the wilderness of northern Quebec in Canada, the Clearwater Lakes are an incredible natural wonder. From the ground, you'd probably think there was nothing particularly unusual about them, but aerial imagery tells a different story. The two nearly circular lakes, known as Clearwater Lake East and West, are twin impact craters originating hundreds of millions of years ago. And while this is a serene and pristine place today, it was once the site of the full power and unpredictability of the universe. Scientists think that the event took place around 290 million years ago during the Permian period, and it would have seen a pair of asteroids traveling close together crash into what is now northern Quebec, creating two enormous craters. Clearwater Lake West, the larger of the two, is around 22 miles in diameter, while East is slightly smaller, with a diameter of about 16 miles. Evidence of the impact origins of the lakes beyond their circular structure can be found in the geology of the region. Shocked quartz, which is a form of quartz that shows microscopic deformation caused by extreme pressures, have been discovered in rock samples taken from the site. And scientists have also found shatter cones, which are these cone-shaped fractured rock formations that only form under the huge pressures of a meteorite impact. Impact craters on Earth are relatively rare, as erosion, tectonic activity, and vegetation tend to destroy the evidence of these ancient impacts over time. These twin impact craters are even rarer, and studies like these have led scientists to think that the impacting bodies were a pair of binary asteroids, which were a pair of space rocks that actually orbited each other before colliding with Earth. This lines up with studies of impact craters on other planets and moons, too, where similar impacts have been observed. The remote location here, however, has kept them relatively undisturbed, and means that they continue to be an important site for scientific study. Geologists visit the region to analyze the impact structures, and they attempt to understand more about asteroid collisions and their effect on the geology of the Earth. Because the lakes are remnants of an ancient impact event, they offer a way for scientists to explore the process that shaped crater lakes on other planets, such as those seen on Mars. Number 4. The Vulcan's Throne Polka Dots, Grand Canyon. So the Grand Canyon, it is a place that's known around the world for its landscapes, its geological history, and dramatic rock formations. But when you look at it from above in satellite imagery, there may be something else that stands out. Near a place called Vulcan's Throne, which is a volcanic cinder cone on the western rim of the canyon, there's a series of patterns that look like polka dots. The dark, circular formations have long been a mystery to explorers, even more so since the full extent of them can now be seen from high above. They are, of course, structures that have been left there by volcanic activity, but they aren't something you'll see at many volcanoes around the world. Vulcan's Throne itself was formed by volcanic activity between 73 to 100,000 years ago, and it's made up of basaltic lava, which is a dark, iron-rich rock that solidifies into that black landscape that surrounds the cinder cone. The lava from Vulcan's Throne once flowed down into the Grand Canyon, damming the Colorado River multiple times. These lava dams, some over 600 feet high, temporarily blocked the river's flow before eventually being eroded away by the force of the water. During an eruption, the volcano would have also released what's known as volcanic spatter, which are small blobs of molten lava, and when these rapidly cooled, they turned into circular deposits. Over time, they can then become part of the landscape and turn into the strange patterns that can be seen today. There is, though, a mystery here because the unusual distribution, near-perfect circularity, and apparent randomness of the dotted rocks means that many geologists don't think volcanic spatter alone can explain them. The more they've been studied, the more important they've turned out to the local ecology as well, as the basaltic polka dots have affected the soil composition and vegetation patterns. And because the volcanic rock tends to be rich in minerals like iron and magnesium, plant life around the dots is different than found elsewhere. But the special thing about these features is that the Grand Canyon as a whole has exposed rock layers that represent nearly 2 billion years of Earth's history, but Vulcan's Throne and its associated lava flows are among the region's youngest features. Future research, possibly involving ground-penetrating radar, mineral analysis, and satellite imagery may provide further information into the origins and significance of these strange patterns, but for now, they remain a little-known feature of one of the world's most famous landscapes. Number 3. The Gobi Desert patterns in China. The Gobi Desert, across northern China and southern Mongolia, is known for its rocky landscape and, of course, extreme temperatures. But in recent years, it's become a much more mysterious place thanks to satellite imagery that's revealed the presence of massive, geometric, man-made patterns that have been carved into the desert ground. With some stretching on for miles, there have been many theories about their purpose, ranging from military testing to extraterrestrial connections, and it's only been recently that answers have finally begun to come forward. One of the most famous and strangest of these formations is a grid-like pattern of white lines forming a crisscrossing network of intersecting pathways that almost looks like a huge maze from above. Analysts now generally believe that these could be calibration grids for spy satellites, and they've been designed to test high-resolution cameras and targeting systems. With China's advancements in military and space technology lately, this makes sense with their need for accurate geolocation and imaging capabilities, and similar calibration grids have been found in other countries too, like the United States, where they're used for that purpose. But there are also some structures that really have no obvious purpose or meaning. There are, for example, a set of sprawling, interconnected spirals and looping patterns that look like ancient geoglyphs, but seem to be modern in origin. Their purpose remains a complete mystery, though some believe they could be related to experimental energy projects like solar power arrays or alternative communication networks. But the strangest of all is a collection of massive airstrip-like markings that don't appear to be functioning runways. Unlike traditional airports, which have clear infrastructure such as control towers and terminals, these airstrips are seemingly abandoned with no visible signs of regular use. Some experts now think that these could be emergency landing sites for military aircraft or prototypes for testing hypersonic weapons. As there has been no official acknowledgement of any of these, the images seen on satellite maps have of course led to countless conspiracy theories about their purpose. Remote regions like the Gobi Desert were traditionally ideal for the secretive testing of new technologies, but now the entire planet's surface is explorable by anyone from the comfort of their own home, and it's becoming way more difficult to do things like that without attracting any attention. Number 2. The Richet structure in Mauritania. In the Sahara Desert, in a region that's in the country of Mauritania, there's a strange geological pattern that's so distinct from its surroundings that it can be seen from space. It's known as the Richet structure. This circular formation is 25 miles or 40 kilometers across, and it's made up of a series of concentric rings that, until recently, has been a complete mystery. It was originally believed to be an impact crater which was formed by a colossal asteroid strike many millions of years ago that would have had huge consequences for the entire planet. Its circular shape seemed to fit the profile of known craters across the planet, but upon closer investigation, it revealed something unusual. There was no evidence of shocked quartz or other geological signatures that you'd usually expect to find at sites of impact events. The Richet structure is now thought to be what's known as a deeply eroded geological dome, where a massive uplift of the Earth's crust has been weathered down over time, revealing the internal layers in the form of concentric rings. Geologists now believe that its formation began over 100 million years ago during the Cretaceous period. The process that led to the formation is called a domal uplift, or molten rock from deep within the Earth's mantle pushed upwards, causing a bulging in the surface layers. Over time, wind, water, and the Saharan climate sculpted the landscape, revealing the rings that we see today. The structure's visibility from space has made it a landmark for astronauts, too, who use it as a reference point when they're orbiting Earth. Its appearance has also inspired a number of theories beyond the scientifically agreed one, such as being the remnants of the lost city of Atlantis. There's no archaeological evidence to support this, though, so it's nothing more than wild speculation. The different rock layers exposed within the rings do tell a story of ancient environments, from the time when this region was covered by a vast ocean to more recent conditions of the Sahara today. Fossils found in the area provide evidence that this landscape was once teeming with marine life, including trilobites and other prehistoric creatures, long before the desert sands claimed the region. Number 1. The Nazca Lines in Peru. Found across the coastal plains of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines are some of the world's most impressive and mysterious ancient geoglyphs. Carved into the desert floor between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these enormous and intricate designs, some stretching over hundreds of feet, have been the subject of study for decades, and we still don't know for certain how or why they were created. Located in the Nazca Desert, which is a dry plateau that covers around 50 miles between the towns of Nazca and Palpa. This region has provided the perfect conditions for preserving these enormous patterns. These lines were made by removing the top layer of reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles and exposing a lighter-colored subsoil beneath. Due to the lack of any significant wind or rain in this area, the markings have remained virtually unchanged ever since they were made. The geoglyphs here include over 800 straight lines, some stretching as far as 30 miles or 50 kilometers, along with 300 geometric shapes like trapezoids, triangles, spirals, and rectangles. Most famously, the lines feature around 70 animal and plant figures, known as biomorphs, that depict creatures like a monkey, a hummingbird, a spider, a condor, a whale, a dog, a parrot, and a mysterious humanoid figure often called the astronaut. In 2019, over 140 new figures were identified, including humanoid and animal shapes. For example, the hummingbird, measuring about 315 feet long, about 96 meters, with its delicate wings spread wide, is a type of bird that never flies to that specific region. The spider, which is 150 feet long, or about 46 meters, looks just like a real-life species that can only be found in the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of miles away. And the monkey, with its exaggerated curled tail, is thought to represent a species native to the eastern jungles of Peru, all of which have raised questions about the Nazca people's connections to distant regions and the possible ritualistic significance of these drawings. The German archaeologist Maria Reich, who dedicated her life to studying these geoglyphs, believed they formed an enormous astronomical calendar used by the Nazca civilization to track important celestial events and seasonal changes. Another theory, though, is that the lines were used for water-related rituals. The Nazca people relied heavily on underground aquifers, and many of these geoglyphs are found near subterranean water sources. But, despite lasting this long, climate change and modern infrastructure projects pose risks to the preservation of these things, so in an attempt to protect the site, they were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994. Strict regulations now limit access to the area, and tourists can best view the geoglyphs from observation towers, small aircraft flights over the desert, and, of course, from home on Google Earth. Seen from orbit, Earth reveals stories written across deserts, forests, and oceans. Some patterns reflect ancient cultures, others the forces of geology, and a few remain unresolved. As satellite technology continues to improve, more of these hidden features may finally be understood.